it's a combination both of like the ways that people think about race and the way that they act on a daily basis regarding race, the way that people treat each other and think about each other, and it's also a problem with kind of how the the like our government sort of constructs policy in not just like an economic sense, but in a lot of different ways that housing that make it more difficult systematically for people of color to live in an equal state as white people.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like there are a lot of ways that I can contribute in a meaningful. It's not that I wouldn't be willing to do something about it. It's just like I feel like it's such a large problem, like it's such on such a scale, and that so few people are doing anything about it. That if I attempt to help in whatever capacity I can, it won't be enough to have any impact.
Right.
And one of the things you need to do that's really hard to do to kind of create racial equality is that you need to have more diversity in a lot of different areas of government, industry, a lot of different things. But the problem is that if you do just like give like more kind of prestige to people that are people of color, people that aren't white, then it also creates other issues where there becomes kind of this sort of like office culture of like people thinking that might be the reason that they are in the position rather than someone who is white.
Right.
Like there's kind
almost
of this,
like a reverse.
Right. It's an issue of like
racism.
people. It's so ingrained in our culture. I think that when you try to fight against it by creating opportunities for people that have been disparaged because of the color of their skin, that you have this issue where people keep kind of wanting to come back to it. They can't really get it out of their head that might not be it. And the thing about like diversity, what's so great about it is that when you have people in higher up important positions that can understand the plight of minority groups, they can do more about it, and it's not even just in government. It's like in like the film industry and television and all entertainment. Like if you have people that are able to create impact in whatever community they belong to, they are going to do it in such a way that benefits them. Ideally, yeah, if you can involve like your community as much as possible in this, and create policy that allows for people to have these opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't. That's great, but it's just an issue of like the kind of on the ground movement, the grassroots movement to make this happen is not very effective in general. And then the policy.
So you don't really think we're doing a good job like currently?
No. I think that there's more vocal racism in our country today than there has been in any other point in the last few decades at least. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of the policies regarding race specifically in our country, or a lot of policies related to race, aren't moving in a progressive direction. So I don't think that things are getting better, and I think that's why I don't feel motivated personally to get involved, is because I don't think that they're going to get better. My parents aren't conservative, so they didn't they always seem to be pretty forward thinking, which they allowed me to, I think, kind of form my own political beliefs, but I think I picked a lot of that up off of them still. A lot of the kind of more liberal beliefs that I have. I think they made an effort to make sure that their political beliefs didn't rub off on me. Like they wanted me to form my own decisions. But I mean, I was coming up in that time when Bush was president, and then when Obama was president. That was kind of the period when I started forming my own political beliefs. Just near the end of the Bush era and the beginning of the Obama era. So it was kind of an interesting time, because I think that just kind of popularizing liberal politics was kind of on the rise, with Bush being as unpopular as he was near the end of his term, and Obama as popular as he was at the beginning of his term. And I was just coming up around a lot of media too that was very liberal. Like there is a lot of media out there that is left-leaning, I would say. I started watching The Daily Show when I was 12 or something, and so that definitely had a huge impact on my beliefs. But I think that hearing my parents every now and again kind of grouse about Bush's policies, or like talk about how it's interesting to see what Obama's doing in office and stuff like that. Just I pick up on you do a lot of just subtly picking up on like tone and and stuff like that. And eventually, you just kind of figure out where what they're kind of thinking. If you try. And even though there may be times in my life where I might want to be a little rebellious and go against whatever it is that they think or tell me to do or something, like I always kind of kept coming back around to liberalism. And I've like explored like other political ideas too. Like I've tried to understand why conservative views on like abortion and the Second Amendment rights, because I know that those are like big contentious issues that don't have easy solutions. But I keep coming back around to liberal politics. University is definitely a very different environment than kind of the community that I grew up in, but I don't feel like it's changed just because like when I was growing up I had these already like left-leaning opinions, and
Right.
I know how the activism like on campus doesn't actually compel me to get involved or even do something as simple as sign my name on a piece of paper, but like actually knowing someone
Yeah.
and like talking to them, like it does so much more than just like than trying to stop people.
Right.
You have to find a way to make it more about community than you do about activism.
When you look at the University of Michigan campus, there has been racist incidents over and over, and despite the efforts, there still exists the perception that, like, blacks are bad, they're just our enemies, and what so on. So I think those still do exist greatly in the United States. I think inequality starts from individuals' perceptions and conceptualization of the race categories. So it doesn't start at many tend to blame the racist problems to individual characteristics, but in fact we should understand that it's like more of an institutionalized problem where the culture and the stereotypic image of a certain race is portrayed as less than others, and I think so individual conceptualization of particular race is like the pivotal factor that influences like everything and beyond the institutionalized level.
Okay.
Well, for spring break, I went to Florida,
Okay.
and I was just like walking around the streets, and
Yeah.
all these like
I'm fine,
people
yeah.
having shouting out things like Asian discriminating things, making these eyes. I've
Really?
been through those things, a few times. Social sciences and humanities major have more positive feelings toward those because they are actually educated more on those topics, while engineering students, for example, don't really have the chance in their classrooms to talk about the issues related to race. So then I definitely think we could improve the situation if we were to implement a better educating system in terms
Public
of
education.
so like in classrooms like biology, we shouldn't think racism, sexism, classism, those kind of problems as their problem, social problem. Like it's a problem as a whole. So I think education really could improve on that. Number of classes, like number of majors increasing leading to those fields, like women's studies. There are more classes that rise in public schools. But then going back to my previous comment, in my history class, one of the classmates told me like, oh, I don't know anything about the gender neutral policy at U of M just because I'm like an engineering major and this is the only humanities course I take. So then like my problem is that while there are classes that focuses on those problems increasing, at the same time I feel like courses that are not necessarily focused on those issues still should refer to those issues as our problem together as a whole. Our perception of viewing like the demonstrations and marches have gotten like better, like positively gotten better, just because I feel like like back in the days we might have thought them as like over exaggerating or whatsoever, seen them as like negative influence or such.
So like an increase in activism.
Increase in activism and increase in acceptance toward activism is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
I I think definitely media still has a lot of problems in persisting racist issues just because, well, I'm studying criminology right now. I'm in a class and we talk about how media creates like, fear of crime and labeling blacks as thieves like till this day. But then I definitely see improvements. Like I did a paper comparing like the Super Bowl ads in like the early 20s and like now early 20s, like early 90s, and then like now like current days Super Bowl ads, and I realized that it is getting better. I mean, it is trying to accept that white and black are not are same, are equal. So I think it's getting better, and media definitely plays a huge role in impacting how people think for sure. Definitely university. I mean, I'm a senior, it's my fourth year, but it has changed my attitude in terms of me being more less conservative, just in terms of like Koreans are super conservative, very focused on like these manners, we have to be quiet, and like in terms of appearance, for example, like we have to be skinny and we have all these standards, whatever. But then when I got to the US, it definitely changed my attitudes. But in terms of like political issues, maybe political issues or social inequality issues, I think definitely my hometown shaped my thinking way more.
Okay.
I feel like our culture in the U.S. is kind of based off of fear, and I feel like the media perpetuates a lot of that fear.
Yeah.
So for me, I think one of the biggest, perpetuators of racial inequality is the media, and people read such varying opinions. It's like either you're reading it's the liberal media or the conservative media, and I feel like that just deepens the divide.
Right.
So I think it starts with families and tradition, and people are so afraid to let go of tradition and change their viewpoints.
Yeah.
I guess that relates back to culture, but changing people's viewpoints and allowing them to expand their ideas on certain subjects. I went on a road trip with my friends outside of Ann Arbor. We went like all over Michigan, and me and my friend were like the only brown people there. So we were in like, and this is more of like a subtle one, like it wasn't verbal or outright, but like we went to this bar and we were just sitting there, and like every single person in the bar, and everyone else was Caucasian. They were just like staring at us the whole time. Yeah. And I was like, that was weird.
It's just.
Well, I'm from Ann Arbor.
Okay.
I was born here, raised here my whole life. What does it say about me? I think a good thing about Ann Arbor is like you get to meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and I think that it allows you, I guess, to learn about people you might be apprehensive of from different cultures, that you might be apprehensive of just because that's like the way you're raised or you don't know much about them. Right. I think that's what Ann Arbor has really helped me do. It's like I feel like the university really hasn't had much impact at all in like changing who I am as a person. Okay. I feel like but also I've only been at university for 2 years, right? Okay. But yeah, definitely like all those years growing up here was probably what impacted me as a person the most. Right.
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking about like where you guys were like picking that.
I'm at the party.
The way I would describe it, which was something
I'm a little nervous because I don't like
over the course of the past few days.
I don't like
is
not
not
having plans.
necessarily
Sometimes
bad people
plan is.
but rather
I'm aware of
people live in two entirely different spheres of information. And because of that, they understand the world around them in two different
I wish I had
ways.
a picture.
And the ways that
Tomorrow, it's so exciting. So practice your big. Isn't an Argentine
and because of that,
how's that?
it's nice. It manifests certain behaviors.
When he was getting a big, then I'll get a big. We're gonna get like a big the same year.
We get a little.
Yeah, when we get littles.
Hurting or disadvantaging or
Little
lifestyle.
When do you want to get a little?
Which, because I believe we all had the same information, which is just.
It's weird. A lot of people who are sophomores now are getting sophomores because they're big. That's
yeah, I think like that's why like I'd rather be like a junior.
But if they all the facts were there
because
and they
Kyle
were
was in the same
objective,
grade as us.
there wouldn't be a question.
I Instagram
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like, and we're both taller than
I think
her.
it's that
So
lack of
there's I Instagrammed a picture of me, Arjun, and Prachi, and the caption was.
So and to take it even further, social media has algorithms that
I'm trying to guess
that
what
do
it is.
not
I think I have an idea, but
diversify
I
your
don't really know.
content. It just shows you things that you already like.
I wish I knew more
So it
about
just
it.
creates
So I don't know like what they
confirmation
do, like
bias,
how
echo
does it work
chambers,
on
where
like
you just
the
end up
Friday?
engaging with more
Oh,
content
I remember when I
you
got
already
mine,
agree
it
with. There was never a
meant to be
question
tested.
whether or not this was right or wrong.
You're not going to be challenged. You're not being challenged.
No one's challenging your ideas. It's just you already thought that.
Footballer thinks
I would say the people
Yeah.
who are controlling
he
that
said something
information,
like, I probably like
distributing
Heineken maybe
information, and manipulating the information
He said like
are the
vodka,
ones.
just standing the guy with the vodka.
Oh my god.
They're crazy in
because
that fraternity.
they know what
I
they're
never
doing.
heard it, was it?
It's not a
DSP.
mystery. I haven't,
And if
I
a
mean,
girl
my
especially if you
entire
wear
life,
the wrong length and stuff, like you
I've
get yelled
gone
at and
to
slut shamed for your surfing too
places that
short.
I don't know if I should name.
It's like literally, it's gonna be so different. I'm sorry.
Very
it feels like
I would never-
places and organizations or restaurants downtown Detroit
Who is it?
It's
that
Arthur.
have told me we will not serve you here.
Oh god.
I've been
No, he just
in
left.
country clubs where they said that we will not serve you here.
Even he texted me all. I'm so mad. I've not texted him back. I'm the worst.
It's never been. It's never. It stops becoming something that's like,
11.
oh, this
I'm
is
so bad
hard.
with texting too. Like I get really
It's difficult.
overwhelmed
You
by
learn
all
to
the
manage
texting.
it and balance
I need
it.
to restart.
But it never
And I
gets
read
easy.
them
It just
too.
becomes different.
I
Every
read
time
them
as
and I
time goes on,
respond.
because
and
it
I
never
just, like, I
never
don't-
stays the
and, like,
same.
and now
Because
it's
no,
up, and now I
obviously that's
don't
not
know.
acceptable to say these things anymore. But
Hey, sorry, I've been busy.
then it manifests itself in
My
different
life.
ways. Like
I was
had,
also thinking about texting back. Like I overwhelmed myself. It
professors,
texts me a lot.
you
Not
know,
to be that person. Like I get all the
second
random texts.
classes,
I text like
hand
it's like
raised,
10 minutes. Text everyone
with
back.
no one else
Going to work.
trying to
Then they
answer a
text me back
question and
so
not
fast. That's like, oh my god, I have to take notes because I know I take
And
notes. Respond back.
I
It's like
asked
hard
the
for me to.
professor
I'm really
after
bad at
class,
it.
and so I just didn't. He had no answer for
Who have
me.
you met
I
so far?
didn't think he knew the
Like
answer.
what other meetings have you had?
I think that
Do you have someone like had your meeting?
I
yet?
told her,
best way to
I told her to
combat
save me because instead
information biases
if she gets
is to
like
educate yourself.
stuck
You know,
or like
you
if
have
she
to
needs like more
actively be
meetings,
learning
like
all
if
the
she's like
time. You have to
falling
teach a
behind,
learner's
then she
mindset.
can
You have to
It's
teach
just like
someone
an extra
that
Easy.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
life
I'm
is
also
one
dating one
big
for
game, and
roommates, too.
you're
Oh, really?
playing the whole way through.
No.
The only way you win
things like this.
is if you
Pictures.
are just
Oh my God.
always learning, always staying adaptable.
That's so funny. I didn't know that.
Don't, if you
So,
stop at any point in time, you're already falling behind because everybody else
How long has
is
it
going
been
to
dating?
keep
It's been real.
keep staying adaptable. So you have to be ready to learn
Just coming to
constantly.
the
And it's a grind, but you know
No.
you gotta be committed to it if
She's
you
coming
want things that
to
you want.
form right before
I've
sophomore
moved around a lot in my life.
And then I was like,
I was
I was
born in
missing her
Detroit.
for all sophomore
I've
year,
lived in
first
Scottsdale,
But that did not
Arizona.
work out so well.
I've lived in.
It was at a sophomore year.
I live in Cali now. I
So
lived
you
in
meant like all
Rochester,
sophomore
Michigan
year.
for a
No,
while.
I dated.
Moved back
I
to
was with her for
Scottsdale.
freshman
Lived in
year.
Okay.
Irvine,
Then, a
California.
week before
for a while.
sophomore
Now I live in
started.
Los
Oh, okay.
Angeles.
Then I like stopped. Horrible
Consider
bosses.
my identity
Ew.
more
Funniest movie
multifaceted. I think
Okay.
It was so funny.
there's a
And
lot.
then she told me I
I've
came
grown
up out of
out of
nowhere.
my own personal experiences rather than what the environment around me. The environments have never shaped me. I've always adapted to environments and then
It's set up.
Is it hard to date in college? I used to have the same friend group. I feel like that's easy.